Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the chilling, documented histories and paranormal folklore hiding right beneath the turf of our favorite sports venues. You know, football stadiums, whether they're hosting a local high school clash under Friday night lights or a massive global soccer tournament, well, they're built for noise, tradition, and pure spectacle. But there's this silent, parallel world that exists right beneath the turf.
So think about it for a second. What actually happens when those roaring crowds finally go home? When the final whistle blows, the marching bands pack up, and the stadium lights go completely dark? What remains? Well, for some of these iconic places, what remains are strange stories, campus ghost lore, and in a lot of cases, documented historic sites with much darker chapters buried straight under the bleachers.
Section 1. Echoes beyond the crowd. When the cheers fade, the legends begin. Let's kick off our journey by exploring the profound contrast between the modern spectacle of sports and the ancient, sometimes totally hidden secrets buried beneath the stands.
There's this intense juxtaposition between the loud, vibrant energy of sports culture and the silent realities of the land these stadiums actually occupy. Picture this. You've got the absolute pinnacle of modern entertainment, packed student sections, television cameras, and literally millions of dollars of athletic infrastructure stacked directly on top of Civil War training camps, abandoned pioneer cemeteries, and forgotten histories. It's a staggering contrast, isn't it?
Section 2. Psychology of Dark Tourism. Why we are drawn to the dark side of the bleachers. Before we jump into the ghost stories themselves, let's look at the framework around why we, as fans, are so captivated by these macabre tales in the first place.
Researchers actually have a name for this. They call it dark tourism or thanatourism. It's the practice of visiting places connected with death, tragedy, disasters, or historical suffering. And crazily enough, this phenomenon dates all the way back to the gladiator events of the Roman Colosseum. Since the beginning of time, human beings have been drawn to sites of tragedy and destruction. So it's not just a modern internet fad, it's a deeply ingrained human behavior to seek out places that embody belief systems and historical events far beyond our normal everyday views. Get this. A Gallup poll found that a massive 37% of people actually believe houses and specific places can be haunted. That's a huge driver for historical tourism. When you combine passionate sports fandom with the fact that well over a third of the population believes spirits of the dead can return to certain places, it's really no wonder these stadium legends become so deeply ingrained in our culture. Psychology gives us a few really interesting drivers for this behavior. Fans aren't just thrill seekers, right? They're actively processing history and mortality. Curiosity theory explains our natural human desire to seek answers for uncertain or unexplained situations. Then there's terror management theory, which suggests that reminders of death actually encourage us to reflect on our own life's meaning. By visiting these sites, we engage in meaning-making, basically connecting with real human stories instead of just reading history dryly from a textbook. And finally, it allows for emotional exploration, helping us develop empathy and a much deeper understanding of complex human experiences. Section 3. Specters of World Football. Global Legends from the Pitch. Let's take this psychological lens and apply it to some of the most famous and chilling legends across world soccer, because when it comes to the beautiful game, the legends off the pitch are sometimes just as famous as the ones on it. These examples perfectly showcase how deeply embedded local lore and historical figures become entwined with the modern identity of a football club. Take Arsenal's old Highbury Stadium. For years, fans and staff reported hearing the restless ghost of their legendary forward-thinking manager Herbert Chapman pacing the halls late at night. There are even stories of a ghostly horse that tragically perished during the construction of the North Bank stand, said to still roam the grounds. Over in Portugal, at FC Porto's Dragao Stadium, a photographer actually captured an apparition, a shadow of a figure in mid-1900s clothing, literally celebrating a James Rodriguez Champions League goal alongside modern fans. No way, right? And we absolutely can't forget Sunderland's Stadium of Light, which is reportedly haunted by an 18th century wrecker named Spotty, who used to lure ships to their doom near the riverbank where the stadium now sits. These stories add a completely unique layer of identity to these global franchises.
Okay, this one is wild. A string of bad luck on the pitch once led a massive organization to literally hire a pagan white witch to clear the spiritual energy of excavated tombs. When Southampton moved to St. Mary's in 2001, building their shiny new £32 million stadium over an ancient pre-Christian graveyard, things went horribly wrong. Relegation fears loomed, the manager was fired within 6 months of a terrible season start, and the rumors of a curse grew so incredibly strong that the club took supernatural action. It shows just how quickly historical anxiety can merge right into sports superstitions.
Now, stepping away from the folklore for a moment, we must acknowledge places like Kabul's Ghazi Stadium. As one Afghan journalist stated, "I saw people beheaded and shot. Afghans will never forget these bad memories." During the Taliban's reign, this stadium was used more for public executions than for football. Despite international efforts to refurbish the stadium and try to erase those dark memories, the trauma remains deeply, deeply embedded in the site, to the point where locals simply refuse to visit after sunset. It is a sobering reminder of the very real, very dark history some of these venues hold.
Section 4. American Gridiron Ghost Stories. Folklore and Legends on Campus. Transitioning back across the globe, let's explore how American football programs have their own deeply rooted spectral traditions. College campuses are ancient by American standards, and they're absolute breeding grounds for folklore.
These campus stories are a wild blend of real-life athletic tragedy, construction accidents, and theater lore rolled into the ultimate game day mythology. At Notre Dame, the spirit of legendary player George "Gyp" the Gipper isn't even haunting the stadium. He's said to be haunting nearby Washington Hall, sometimes seen riding a white horse. At Indiana University, the very real tragic construction death of a worker named Michael Plume at Memorial Stadium in 1960 became woven into the venue's uneasy folklore. And at Kansas State, the ghost of Nick haunts the Purple Mask Theater, a space that actually used to be located inside the East Stadium of the football complex. It's fascinating how equipment inexplicably moving around is chalked up to the resident theater ghost.
Now, there is perhaps no greater contrast between an unproven true crime myth and hometown folklore than the legend of Jimmy Hoffa. The idea that the powerful Teamsters leader's remains were buried beneath the 50-yard line of the old Giant Stadium was such a massive cultural myth that even the TV show Mythbusters stepped in to test it, though, of course, they couldn't prove it. Meanwhile, over in Detroit, local folklore simply claims you can still hear Hoffa's ghostly voice cheering on his beloved Lions. It's a really fascinating look at how we project our greatest unsolved mysteries directly onto the turf of our grandest stages. Section 5. Built on hallowed ground. The documented history beneath the turf. Moving from myths to hard facts, we uncover the sobering reality that many of our grandest stadiums are quite literally built upon the graves of the past. This isn't ghost hunting anymore. This is urban archaeology.
Consider the timeline of Camp Randall in Wisconsin. It transforms a site of wartime imprisonment into one of college football's most electric modern atmospheres. Today, it's famous for tens of thousands of fans jumping up and down to hip-hop music, but in 1862, this exact same spot served as a Civil War training site and a Confederate POW camp holding over 1,000 prisoners. The land was later purchased by the University of Wisconsin in 1893, and Camp Randall Stadium officially opened as a memorial park in 1917. The layers of history here are absolutely immense, giving the stadium a powerful sense of place that goes way beyond just touchdowns and field goals.
As cities grow and development expands, these venues increasingly collide with forgotten urban burial grounds, sparking some really complex debates around preservation and respect. When building the Superdome in Louisiana, workers built right over the deconsecrated Girard Street Cemetery, which, naturally, led to rumors of a curse on the saints. Down in Florida, potential graves were discovered beneath Tropicana Field, sitting on what was once the segregated Oaklawn Cemetery. Just recently, a massive ongoing excavation debate halted the Indy 11 soccer stadium in Indiana after human remains were found, sitting on top of 4 historic 19th-century cemeteries. And at Lee Williams High School in Arizona, the football field literally sits on top of an abandoned pioneer cemetery. And it's not just mapped cemeteries. Generations of fans have tailgated over the forgotten histories of marginalized communities without even realizing it. At Clemson University, over 500 unmarked graves of enslaved men and women sit beneath the tailgating grounds. NC State's Carter Finley Stadium was built atop the lost black community of Lincolnville. UNC's Kenan Stadium has direct historical links to the brutal Wilmington Massacre. And up in New York, the ruins of a Native American settlement lie beneath the Buffalo Bills Stadium. As we build bigger and grander entertainment complexes, we are quite literally paving over the complex and often uncomfortable realities of our shared history.
Section 6. Respecting the final whistle. Balancing fandom with reverence. As we wrap up this explainer, let's look at how we can responsibly engage with these spaces that are equal parts entertainment venue and historical resting place.
If you're going to explore these spaces or engage in paranormal tourism, there are a few guidelines to follow. Step 1. Clearly distinguish documented historical facts from embellished campus folklore. Step 2. Maintain deep respect when stories involve real deaths or active burial grounds. I mean, it's incredibly fun to swap stories about ghostly fullbacks, but we need to shift our mindset to reverence when real lives are involved. And step 3, use these historical narratives to deepen your travel experience, not overshadow the game itself. We've got to balance our curiosity with a profound respect for the real human lives that preceded us.
Historian Carmen Cawthon really hit the nail on the head when she noted, "It makes you wonder how much of America were not only built on the backs of the people who built them, but literally were built on their graves." This powerful observation strips away the spooky ghost stories and leaves us with the bare, undeniable truth about the land we build our monuments on. It forces us to just pause and reflect on the foundation of the places where we gather to celebrate.
So, on your next sports trip, maybe take a little time to explore the hidden history lying just beyond the field. Whether you believe in ghosts or just the heavy weight of history, knowing the story of the land enriches every single game you attend. It adds a completely new dimension to your fandom. You aren't just visiting a stadium, you're visiting a historical site that holds generations of memories, some joyful and some deeply tragic.
Next time you hear that stadium echo, will you wonder who exactly is cheering alongside you? I'm going to leave you with that provocative thought to consider the next time the crowd goes wild. Thank you for joining me for this explainer.